Hello and welcome to another episode of Cyrils Brettspiele with
Andy
and Nils. And today we are talking about Castle Panic from Fireside games. So we just finished a couple of Castle Panics, I would say. 3-4 in a row, just with different players and all of that. So we tried it today with 2 players, 2 times, just to see if it scales differently, and then we pretend 4 players, so we did a lot of them. But let's go into the rules first, and then we are talking about the game, okay?
Okay.
Okay, here are the rules. What you're doing on your turn is drawing cards up to your hand limit. In a 2-player game it's 6, in a 3 to 5 player game it's 5, in a 6-player game it's 4 cards on your hand. So you're drawing up to your hand limit. Let's say you have 3 from your last turn, then you're drawing up 2. After that you can discard a card because you don't like it. Let's say you don't like the red archer, get rid of that and draw another card like this. You can only discard 1 card. After that you can trade 1 card with any player. You pick a player and you pick a card he wants, and you trade this green archer into, let's say, a red knight. Now it's your time to play all these cards. You play the red knight, that gives a hit point to that orc here in the red knight ring, because you hit someone in the red knight ring. Then you play the green swordsman to hit that orc here down by 1. You have a blue archer, there is no blue archer, so you keep it on your hand. You have a fortify card, perfect, you can fortify a wall if you want. And you have a missing card, which is also a bonus. These bonus cards are purple here. They make different things. You can play all these cards up to your hand limit, whatever you want. After you did that, the rest of your cards stay in your hand. After you did that, you move all these monsters 1 closer to the castle. In a co-op game, the idea is we are standing all in the castle and have to defend the castle here. So he is in front of the wall. He would break down the wall right now. Unfortunately, he has a fortify token right now on it, but let's assume there's no one. He would break down the wall and get 1 hit point, which means in this situation he would die because he only has 1 hit point left. So, and then this one gets closer as well. Let's assume this one, in this area, here are 2 monsters and a wall. In this case, they are breaking together down this wall, and you can pick one of these creatures to get a hit point. Let's say you kill that orc because he has only 1 hit point left. He's staying there as well because breaking down a wall takes a full round. On the next round, we took that away a little bit earlier. On the next round, he's going in and breaking down the tower. And when he's in there, there's no wall stopping him at all. He's going clockwise and every single round destroying 1 tower tile and losing always 1 hit point as well. After you did that, the moving of the creatures, you draw 2 new creatures from here. That was a discard pile, which could be also a new one. Then you roll a die and you add it to this ring number 5, indicated here. Or there could be some events in it, like discard all swordman cards from your hand. Then, in clockwise order, the next player's turn is, if he has lower than 5 cards, he redraw up to 5 cards, and the game goes on into the next round. That's all the game. You win the game when you defeat all the 49 monster tokens and kill all of the monsters. Keep in mind that it's not all monsters, but when you kill all the monsters, you win the game as a team. When they race down all these tower tiles here, you lose the game together. That's the whole game. That's the whole rules of Castle Panic from Fireside games.
All right, now that you've heard the rules, let's talk about components. What did you think about the components?
Actually, I first of all, I like these tokens. So I like the shape. I have no idea why. It's not a triangle, it's a little bit round here. I really like that. So the cards are good, a little bit, well, they are good. So the only one, it's just a standard die. I mean, you could spice it up with a different die. Or the other one, so the cardboard is not super perfect, but it's really good. So it's solid, it's good. What I really like is that there's a lot of rules on the board itself. So order of play and what the boss monster is doing is printed on the board. I think you can see it right now here. Maybe, so there's text on it. So yeah, components, there's nothing wrong with the components for me and for you.
Yeah, I mean a standard cardboard that, you know, they use for board games these days.
Yeah, what a surprise.
Yeah. You know, I know that some people might not actually like that it's instead of miniatures, but you know, for your price point, you throw in a bunch of miniatures.
They are 49 in it, so if you would print 49 miniatures.
So if you want to pimp out your board game, you know, you could, you know, have. I'm sure there's a way, and I'm sure somebody's done it. It doesn't bother me so much, and I do like how you can just spin it for the hit points. It's very intuitive.
That's true.
And you know, on the back, you have the little monster thing. The one drawback for me is the board graphics, the layout. It kind of takes you out of the, you know, for me, the theme of, or the fantasy setting. I like this. I like that these are 3D. I think that was a great idea. I just don't like that the red is like, you know, early 90s graphic lava thing.
Yeah, that's true.
This is, you know, like, this is, I think that they could have done a little bit better job on the graphical layout of just the board, and when I, you know, pulled this out for my friends, that's the first thing they noticed. Everything else is fine. I know it's, you know, it's its second reprinting, so that's not going to change. For me personally, that was just a little minor.
That's interesting. I never thought about that, but you're absolutely right. When I right now think about it, looks not really fancy and super themey, but actually that's the first time ever I think about that. Never thought about that before.
Well, I guess for me, a lot of board game, I'm a theme kind of guy, and so, you know, in graphics and that sort of thing, you know, when you're shelling out $40 or $50 for a board game, I'm not sure the price point on this one.
I think it's far below 50.
Yeah, so
it should be definitely online below 50.
Sure.
Even if you're in your local game.
I would have to say that, you know, but for the game itself, don't necessarily mean, you know, oh, I hate the board layout, so I'm not going to play the game. I think you should, you know, you can look past that. That's
okay,
no problem.
We are right now almost in the critics, I feel, so because you're
talking about, the components. That was my one, you know, everything else I think is fine.
Today we're floating a little bit about these things, but that's fine, that's perfectly fine. Other critics you have?
About the gameplay?
Yeah, gameplay, maybe rules, something like that?
You know, I think it's a fun co-op game. I think that the rules are fairly intuitive. The rule book's laid out fairly well. And, you know, it's a game you can sit down and explain in about 5 minutes. It clicks, everybody gets it, and you can start playing. I would consider it a light board game.
Yeah, it's definitely a gateway game.
Exactly, and you know, for maybe even your friends that haven't really played a lot of board games, introducing them to the co-op nature of board games, because there's a whole, you know, genre, and I think this is a good introduction into that. And I think there's a lot of game in here, and each game is going to play slightly differently simply because of all the random, you know, variables of drawing and.
You know what is really fun about that game for me? I played that game a couple of times before I really officially read the rules, because a lot of players know that game and have played that before and introduced me to the game, and more or less everybody did the rules correctly. But what I figured out it's really fun on reading the rules for me was actually it's not designed as a co-op game. It's designed as a competitive game. So when you kill these monsters, orcs, trolls or goblins, you take it in your personal pile and score later on as points. Even the boss monsters are a little bit better. So, but then you skip a little bit the trade part because no one wants to trade his really super awful barbarian once slain the last guy card. So I played that always as a co-op game, and as a co-op game it's totally good and totally fine, and a real gateway game. As a competitive game, I would say the level is a little bit harder to survive and win the game because you don't want it to trade your real one-shot good card, right? So I mean, it's a little bit harder for everybody.
I would say, yeah, for me the competitive never played that version of it, simply because if I'm going to play... Okay. But I mean, well, we played it 6 times maybe.
Yeah, we played it always co-op.
Yeah, and if I'm, if I want to be competitive, there's other games to play competitively. For my play group, we've never done the keep the tokens and score it at the end to see who's the best. Because that to me isn't. I'm sure there's some people out there. I'm glad they have that option. I don't want to play that game this way. I guess on some level. I mean, it's not that I could never be convinced.
What I really appreciate on that, it's a really optional rule. So it's definitely in the rulebook, and I'm only and always talking about what is in the official rulebook, not what's on Board Game Geek or things like that, fan expansions. I mean, you can make out of every single game a totally different game with fan expansions, but especially in a second printing, it has to be in the rulebook or it's not be on my channel.
Sure.
So yeah, let's talk about fun and replayability a little bit. So today we are mixing up a little bit the points, but that's fine for me. I hope for you as well. So what is fun and replayability for you?
I enjoy the theme. I can get into that, we're defending a castle and they're attacking. That's right.
Fighting the army of goblins and trolls.
That's right. Yeah, the replayability on the base game, I think after maybe, between around 10 plays, you might start, it gets a little samey for me. However, but they have an expansion, and I was gifted this game, and I went out and bought the expansion.
You know what? I'm always a little bit concerned about having this 10 times replayability. First of all, what I tell my audience today is when you buy a game for, let's say, even if you buy it very expensive for 50 bucks and you play it 10 times, it's $5 each time you play a game. Let's pretend you play it with 4 players, it's $125 per player per game.
Sure.
So it's nearly nothing you pay for it. So 10 times is more than enough for a game. Second of all, you never play it always with the same people, never ever. So you play it instead of 10, 15 times because you have 5 players, or let's say 3, who are playing that only 3 or 4 times with you because they don't like it, and the other 2 players, they are really liking it. They came on the 6th game, right? And they say and force you to, hey Andy, let's play Castle Panic again. It was so good. Let's play it again. Let's play it again. So I don't have a problem with this. If it's more than 3 or 4 times, it's always good for me.
Sure. For me though, 10 times, it essentially means, would I go out and buy this game for 10-time play when I have all these other games, and time for me is more limited per se.
Yeah.
With my friends that I want to play with, is that saying that strangers, or I go to a meetup or board game group and somebody wants to play their copy of the game? Sure, that's not necessarily what for me it's like, if I didn't have the expansion, I wouldn't go out after just playing it 6 times. I wouldn't go out and buy it.
Okay.
But I was gifted to me, and it intrigued me enough that I went out and bought the expansion, the Wizard's Tower, because it adds some more complexity and it's supposed to be more challenging. And you got those wizard cards, and I like wizards anyways. And so that's for me. It's like, oh, if there's a game that I know I'm going to play 20 times, boom, I'm sold. I'm going to buy it. But less than that, your gaming money and time, limited time.
Yeah, time is always.
And that's the time is to me is the big thing.
Yeah.
Is this a game I'm going to get out with my group of friends that I play with all the time when we have a lot of other games? Is it going to meet, you know? Is it going to rise to the top? After the first initial, like, hey, this is interesting, these are new mechanics, and after the initial kind of like, oh, well, we've explored, the game space per se, but
I hear you, but
I know what you mean on play.
Replayability.
Yeah, replayability, $5 a play. You're kind of like, oh yeah, I understand that. To me, it's not necessarily. I guess my threshold is higher on replayability.
Okay.
I agree. If you're gonna be at a game group and you got a bunch of different people all the time and you want to introduce them to the co-op, this is a great game to do.
Correct. So yeah, I have to say, and I'm pretty sure I'm floating right now into my points right now. I have to say, for me, it's always a recommendation for gamers, and for gateway gamers, a highly recommendation.
Yeah.
Especially for me, because when I'm going out, I have always 1, 2 newbies in there, or neighbors coming and stopping by and saying, hey, you're the gamer guy, right? We played Monopoly or Catan 3 years ago, and that's our gaming. We are gamers as well. We played Catan 3 years ago once.
Yeah.
So, and we really enjoyed it. So,
yeah.
And then I'm introduced these people to new games. And then always Castle Panic is one of the picks. Obviously Ticket to Ride.
Yeah.
Hanabi as another co-op is always one of these picks. So, but whoever wants a little bit more components than Hanabi, and same level of rules or complexity like Ticket to Ride, I would say go for Castle Panic. You cannot do something wrong with it.
I think so. I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you would say as well,
if you're the guy who is introducing games, and especially I think this is a great gateway game to co-op mechanic.
Yeah.
Kind of like maybe Forbidden Island is, but this plays totally different than Forbidden Island. And they'll like castles and being attacked by goblins and orcs.
Yeah, and the theme is strong enough in the game to say there's a theme instead of...
Right. Which, in Forbidden Island, you're kind of like, what?
Yeah.
The theme is a little...
What I really like on this game, and this is the last part before we shutting it off, is this giant boulders. So when you have a pile of big trolls and orcs over here, let's assume in green, and the wall is already down here and the tower as well, and maybe over here as well. So then sometimes it could happen that you're wishing, hey, let's draw a boulder and roll a 4 and roll all over this creature. So it's a little bit this feeling of, I know that sounds awkward, but bingo, boulder, right now.
Right.
So yeah. Okay, that was our... Do you have something to add? I don't know.
I would recommend the game as a light introduction to co-ops, and then they have I think a couple expansions. For, For to up the panic level, shall we say, for the hardcore gamers.
Oh yeah, and we will talk about on one of our next shows about the other panic game, which is Dead Panic, right?
Right.
Exchange castle into zombies. Right. We will do it.
Yeah.
Did you know that?
I was guessing since you brought both.
Okay. Okay, guys. Thanks for watching, and please subscribe us, and see you next time on Cyrils Brettspiele with
Andy
and Nils. See you next time. Bye bye.